Aki got up early in the morning to deliver newspapers, the neighbor asked him. Aki said she still works at the restaurant and delivers newspapers. Right now he has a new goal so he can't play around. The neighbor wondered what anime it would be this time. At Toyogasaki Private Academy, Ariri was standing in front of the class listing bulletin board. Her classmates greeted her, and Ariri happily greeted her back. In the classroom, Aki is attentively writing something. The friend asked if he was writing reviews for light novels. You wrote those things a long time ago. The other boy looked down at the schoolyard and commented on Ariri. She is both a hybrid and has a talent for art that won many awards at the exhibition. Blonde hair tied on both sides is exactly his style. Aki feels regret because she tried to lure him back to 2D girls before. The opening ceremony begins. The guy who got down first, Aki, will come down later. At this moment, Ariri went to open the cabinet and found the storybook inside. Aki appeared from behind the wall and said it took a lot of effort to order that book. Ariri told him at school not to talk to her. Aki says she has something to tell her, then runs over to give Ariri a piece of paper with the project she wrote on. He recounted what happened. It was 1 week ago. Aki met a beautiful girl while delivering newspapers. Ariri sounds no different from the opening of the usual light novel series. Since it's his first project, Aki wants her to be his artist because Ariri is a famous author specializing in doujin 18+. But she disagreed. Aki said he would wait for her at the AV room after school, then Aki went to the hall to attend the opening ceremony. The boy next to him asked him what was wrong, and Aki expressed that an important project was having problems. But the other guy looked at the female student going up and didn't care about Aki. That girl is Utaha, the best student in the school, even though she sleeps all the time in class. On the terrace, Utaha was reading a book when Aki brought her food and then asked her about her project. Aki was so bad at first writing, he even asked her to join him. But Utaha said she was very busy. No one knows that she is the author of the famous series Koisuru Metronome, whose pseudonym is Kusumi Yutako. Only Aki knows this. Aki said he would wait for her in the AV room after school. At the end of class, Aki was on her way to the AV room when someone called back and told the teacher to ask for the delivery. He said he was on important business. The female student also thanked him for picking up the hat for her. Aki doesn't remember this, so let it go. In a V-room, Ariri and Tuan are waiting for a key. Aki suddenly looked at the other female student and turned to ask what happened that day. In early spring she dropped her hat and he picked it up. Her name is Katu. Aki thought he had met his destiny, but it turned out that it was all a misunderstanding. Episode 2. After meeting the heroine of his dreams, Aki immediately asks Katu for coffee. Two people sitting in a bar talking. Aki asked her about the hat that day, and Katu said she gave it to a relative as a souvenir. It turns out that a fateful love meeting is not equal to kin. Aki said she had been studying with him for a long time without him noticing. Katu says she's very ordinary, nothing special. Aki stood up and loudly said to Katu's face that she was so cute that the eyes of the people around her turned to them. Katu knows he's a celebrity in the academy, who doesn't know about Aki. He wanted to bring anime into the academy, and even held a movie screening at the festival. There are 3 famous people in the whole school and you are one of them. Katu suddenly asked him if he was dating any beautiful beauties. Aki said that he is only in love with 2D girls. How can he like 3D girls? Katu said there were 2 girls staring at them outside the door. It was Ariri and Utaha, who also joined in. Aki introduces the two as the manga artist and writer of the game they are about to make, and introduces Katu as the heroine of the next game. Turns out this was the reason why he abandoned the other 2 girls. Ariri pressed her face close to Katu and examined her. Aki saw that and told her that she was nearsighted, so the 2 friends sat back and forth talking and kicking each other's feet. Utaha also intervened in the argument. When Aki mentioned Katu, she had already gone to the checkout counter. It's a blinking stealth technique. Ariri and Utaha reread Aki's script but still criticized it. He could either rewrite the script or give up on his dream of making games, but Aki said he would write until the 2 of them saw it. The next morning, Aki invited Katu to her house, dressed very casually. Aki said inviting her home on the first date was very shy but still took her. At Aki's house for the first time, Katu behaves very naturally, not like the anime addict he imagined. Today Katu will learn how to behave as a 2D heroine. Aki took out a game disc and gave it to her to play. It seems that Katu is a normal girl, so he can't choose the answers he wants. But she still patiently played the game. Finally the heroine of that game died. Katu says Aki wants her to be like that. The two of them sat facing each other. Aki decided to lecture on the lesson of a 2D girl's manners. Katu stood up and said that if today's lesson was over, she would go home after dark. Aki handed her a disc saying it was part 2 of the game just now. Is another ending for the heroine and tells her to stay here to play the game. If that's the case, it'll be midnight. Aki says his parents won't come back anyway. Katu also sat down and said that he had asked his family for permission to be late. Then the two sat down to play games. Episode 3. Aki rewrote the script and waited for Ariri and Utaha to approve the project. Meanwhile, he called Katu to say he wanted a game night to find ideas. But Katu and his family are on holiday in Hokkaido. Aki was disappointed. He decided not to play games or read anime and then glued the whole storyboard together. But then he took out one book and told himself to only read this one. Just like that from book to book, and then fell asleep from time to time. When Aki woke up, she was about to go to her room to get water to drink, but found that Ariri was in the house. She is sitting and writing Doujin 18+. Ariri said there were guests at home, so she came here. Is this that polite girl Ariri? What two opposing schools? Ariri says he should give up, but Aki says that's not the case at first. In the past, she also started from doodles and became a famous artist. If she can do it, Aki can do it too. Suddenly she looked up at the window and found something and hid in the closet. Someone came to Aki's house. It was Utaha. She pressed him against the wall and said it would be the first time for the two of them to make his face red as a tomato. Seeing that, she said she was just joking. Utaha came to see how far he could write. After chatting with Utaha, she said that if he really wanted to make a game, he had to get the group to take it seriously first. She also reminded someone that if they wanted to hide that they were not here, they should hide the bicycle in the lobby. After Utaha left, Ariri came out of nowhere. Aki says if she is so inhibited, why doesn't she come out? Ariri says she doesn't want to meet her in this place. That night Aki called Katu. She is still on holiday with her family. Katu asks him about her charms, and Aki says everything is interesting without any particularities. The next day Aki sat in front of the computer with a blank sheet of paper with no words written on it. Without writing anything, he rested. Time passed. There are 2 more days to the deadline without any ideas. Should I give up here? The next day Aki goes to a hill for inspiration. Suddenly a girl appeared with a hat of fate flying towards him. It was Katu. She had left the trip with her family to return first. She comes to help Aki find inspiration. This outfit is designed by Ariri in the way he likes, and the lines are written by Utaha. She's tough, but it's been a fun experience with Katu. She said that if he didn't come back, he would hate her for the rest of his life. Perhaps from now on they will be closer, although she doesn't know what Aki wants to do, but he does everything to accomplish it. Right after that, Aki dragged Katu away saying that it was a group meeting and would release her at 6 o'clock tomorrow. In the distance, Ariri and Utaha were watching the two of them. Katu turned to greet the two when Ariri stuck out her tongue at her. Perhaps a group has been truly completed. Episode 4. Early in the morning Katu and Aki are on the train. She is reading a series of Utaha. She didn't expect someone like her to be able to write romance novels. Later in a tall building, Aki sat across from Utaha. He was the editor who came to interview her. Michida said she was afraid of communicating with outsiders, so she chose him as the best choice. Utaha stood up and was about to leave when Aki knelt in front of her saying he couldn't let her new work know. Then Aki started interviewing. After interviewing 2 to 3 questions, Utaha fell asleep. She said she was looking for ideas, so she stayed up all night, so Aki brought a bunch of coffee to help her wake up and continued the interview. Aki always comes up with headlines, but Utaha says she doesn't respond like that. As soon as the interview ended, she thanked the readers and even said she would participate in his project. Aki is happy to hear this. He promises to work hard. Utaha has to finish the work in front of her first. Later in the AV room, the group gathered to discuss Aki's production plan for the series. It is expected to be in production this winter. On the board was the project's schedule, but Utaha went up to it and fixed it up to keep up with her work. Seeing that, Ariri also stepped up to correct it. Neither of them gave up. In the end, both girls' faces were covered with ink. The time limit is on the table written for tomorrow. Suddenly Utaha mentioned pre-production. Ariri also added the lyrics. The total damage was probably 1 million yen. The two of them were like taxpayers, clearly stating the amount that caused Aki's collapse. Utaha approached him and said that she could lend him a loan as long as he did a little work. Seeing that, Ariri rushed to the space between the two of them. Aki talks about money and leaves him alone, The two of them just need to draw well and write a good script. Suddenly Katu spoke up, and what should she do? Aki said she can do whatever she wants to radiate the female lead. The next day Aki got up early to deliver newspapers. He would definitely do it. Aki works various part-time jobs. He was working at a restaurant when two customers came over and made him gasp. It was Katu and a certain boy. The next day when he went to class he asked her. Katu said it was just her cousin. With his rich mind, Aki comes up with all sorts of unusual things. He also said that she's the game's heroine now, so don't go with that cousin anymore, at least when the game is finished. Katu says they already have an appointment this weekend. Episode 5. The next day the group continued to meet in the classroom. Eriri is looking for inspiration and asks Katu to try the facial expressions. But she didn't know how to express herself, so she said she would go out to practice. Aki is sitting next to Utaha. She was writing the script very enthusiastically. Suddenly Aki asked Eriri if she wanted to go on a date, causing Utaha's computer to fall to the ground. This word coming out from an otaku like you is unbelievable. He said, for example, if a guy asked her to go shopping, what would she do? Eriri said, why not order it online and wait for someone to bring it to you for your convenience? It is true that the rich lady thinks differently from ordinary people. She asked Aki if he was dating Katu and he immediately refused. Utaha at the back of the class is typing on the keyboard. Ideas come and they have to be typed quickly or they go away. After she finished writing, she gave it to everyone to read and she went to bed because she stayed up all night. In the scenario, the female led is Meguri and the male led is Seiji. The two met by chance on a spring day, and Seiji went to Meguri's class to learn from that and their love progressed. Suddenly one day a monster appeared in the world. The two team up to defeat it and then stay together after a long time apart. After everyone finished reading, Utaha woke up. The script is fine but it seems a bit cliched. Utaha said that if no one has any ideas, let's make it official. But Aki asked her to give herself time to consider it further. 3 days later he still had no answer for them. Eriri said that if it was like this he wouldn't be able to finish the game. After that, Aki was still immersed in the script. Katu says if he's busy, his appointment to go shopping tomorrow can be cancelled, but Aki says go anyway. The two of you will try going on a date. The next day a young couple was waiting in line to enter the shopping mall. In the midst of the bustling crowd, the door of the shopping mall also opened and people walked in. Two people went to a table to sit because it was too crowded, they couldn't squeeze in to buy. Katu was fanning Aki while he was planning a battle to see which way would be more convenient for shopping. At the first store Katu got what they wanted. They then continued on to another store. The more the flow of people made Katu almost fall. Fortunately, Aki took her hand and the two ran out of the crowd hand in hand. Katu then took him to a glass shop and picked a new one. She said it was a gift for being with her all day. When it was time to leave, Aki said that she couldn't bring Katu home because she had to leave immediately. I wonder why Aki is so necessary. Episode 6. After leaving the shopping district, Aki immediately runs to the cafe he and Utaha usually meet. At the same time she and Machida were on their way home. It seems Utaha is also worried about Aki and dare not call him. Machida tells her to put down her pride and go after people. But Utaha insistently denied that she was thinking of Aki. Aki went to the cafe but couldn't meet her. Remembering the past, Utaha wrote the script for the final volume and gave it to Aki. But he refused to read it first because he wanted to wait for the release. He is a big fan of hers. Aki is standing in front of the train station to go home. Just as he was about to step onto the train, he turned around as if he remembered something. Utaha and Machida have arrived home and are drinking tea. Machida reminded her to go to bed early to have an appointment tomorrow, when suddenly Utaha looked down and saw Aki coming here in the rain. After entering, the first thing he needed to do was take a shower. While Aki is taking a bath, Machida says what to do now: dry your clothes and send him away. Utaha says it's raining and it's a bit apologetic to send him away and says he'll take care of the rest. Before leaving, Machida also said that she had changed Utaha's room into a double room. After taking a bath, Aki wears a robe and sits in the room. He was about to take off his clothes when Utaha also finished taking a shower and came out. She sat down on the bed and wiped her hair and called Aki to come close to her. Aki said that for a high school girl like her, her mother should be more worried. But Utaha says the top performance, everything is perfect, is a very good excuse. She said Aki was so determined to meet her that she missed the last train and rested her head on his shoulder. Suddenly Aki asks her to help him become a real man. After saying that, He realized that he had just said it wrong, so he told Utaha to turn himself into a real creator. Then the two discussed the script. Aki wanted her to rewrite the script to make it more dramatic. Utaha also mentioned how he went on dates all day. Aki refuses no and says how she feels about Katu. She patiently followed him, even following Aki's instructions. When Aki is tired, Katu still waits for him to get well. Even if he can't bring her home, Katu still sees him off with a smile. Aki said Utaha could write a script for a slightly sloppy ending. Instead of being together, the heroine realizes that everything she does is forced by her past. Let's discuss the script until morning. Utaha said that since entering the profession, Aki is the most talkative person she has met. After discussing, Tuan began to write scripts on the computer. The next morning she got up early and prepared everything to start a new working day. Before leaving, she told Aki to check out and asked if he was still tired from their passionate night. Utaha said that when she first started she argued with the editor 1,000 times. With her will she finally made it, and believes that Aki can too. Aki also got up and put on her robe. Utaha did not forget to take a photo of the two of them having sex last night while Aki was sleeping.